Hello everyone, my name is Raed, and in today's session we're going to be learning all of the stages of ethical hacking, and we're also going to learn what tools are used for each of the stage and what are their definitions, why is it important for us to learn these definitions, and how is it used in organizations. So let's begin. So first of all, reconnaissance. Now, what is reconnaissance basically? Many people have asked me that reconnaissance and scanning mean the same, like both are for gathering information. But here's the slight difference. You need to know all of these terms first of all, because whenever you go for a pen test, as this is ethical hacking, so we go for pen test and whatever the organization requirements are, first we have to sign the NDA forms, and then the policy procedures, what tools we'll be using, either CLI, that's the command line, or GUI, that's the graphical user interface. But most of the time organizations allow us to use command line interface, because GUI interfaces have more capability to like spider things up easily, and because of these spidering and crawling of websites, organization fear that some of our confidential data or any files that are important or necessary for the web server to run can be deleted. So let's talk about reconnaissance. What is reconnaissance basically? It means gathering as much information as possible about the victim. Okay, either it be like if you go physically or technically, digitally, anything. One example for this is social engineering. Okay, social engineering can also be of two types: physical and digital. Physical means like if I give you a scenario, first we'll be targeting the wireless network. Okay, I'm a hacker, I'm targeting XYZ organizations wireless network. I need to know what adapters are running, what brands and what models of those systems, switches or routers the company runs. I need to know all this, but I cannot gather this information digitally. I need to go physically and pretend to be someone from third party or some security provider that can build trust for the victim. Like when I stand after him and I speak to him, he should have that trust that yes, he's the third party, he's the actual third party, so I can relate everything about the wireless interfaces, wireless networks, and everything about our company. So first of all, we have to build this trust in physical social engineering. Then all of the information should be documented with you. Now if you keep these in mind, you can also forget, so that's a big problem. You need to document all of these things, like what the network brands, what models, and what switches are used, etc, etc, whatever you gather from the reconnaissance step. Okay, and we have to know these steps: the reconnaissance, scanning, gaining access, maintaining access. All of these are very necessary for us, because whenever we are playing the CTFs, most of the time the capture the flag, we don't really know that we are like following all these steps, but unintentionally we are. First of all, we get an IP address. There's no need of reconnaissance because we already got an IP address. That's all we need for this task. Okay, I copied the IP address and went for my scanning process. Now what's the scanning process? I use Nmap. I use Nmap to scan all the ports and detail information, what web servers are running, what open ports are existing, and what the architecture, what's the operating system, etc, etc. So we need to know all of these steps. Whenever in organization people talk about, hey, what did you get from the results of reconnaissance, what did you get from results of scanning, etc, you need to know what these terms really mean so that you can answer them. So next step, we'll be talking about scanning. Okay, so what's scanning? Scanning means gathering the detailed information of the reconnaissance result. So now suppose I have an IP address. That's all I need. I got an IP address, suppose 10.10.100. Okay, and I can show you an example here. I made a last video of basic pen testing of Try Hack Me Room. I have the directory here, then map scan. Okay, now what this scan is, this is my scanning process. The reconnaissance process is something you need, like you really need for from the victim so that you can continue your scanning processes, and it's legit that you know this vulnerability exists on this and everything so on. Now all I needed in this was the IP of the victim 10.10.25.84. Now I performed a scan and all of the information of the detailed result were given. It is port 2020 22 sorry, port 80 139 445 8009 8080, and here's the host script results, meaning like what's the host name, what's the security, what's the architecture, and etc., what's the operating system, anything. This is the detailed information that I get. This process is called scanning. Now I got the complete detailed information of what the ports are open, is it filtered, is it closed. I can get much of information. Now here, as you can see, Tomcat server is also there, and even SSH and Samba, that is SMB, is also open. So I can perform my gaining access procedure or my scanning procedure on on all these three. Like either I can perform it on Apache Tomcat or Samba or OpenSSH. But for that video, the basic pen testing video, I preferred OpenSSH because I knew that connectivity will be given from SSH, so I can directly target SSH and crack the user's password, which I did in that previous video. You can see it if you need to know some more about how scanning and gaining access is done. This is the theory and that's the practical video. Now let's come to gaining access. Now what's gaining access? Gaining access means the results that you found from your scanning, you use them to gain access to the victim's server, victim's computer, victim's network, etc., whatever you're targeting this time. Now I can give you an example of CTFs. Okay, hack the box, try hack me, whatever you're playing. Even root me is a good CTF platform. You can use them. Now what happens in gaining access procedure is that, suppose here here as you can see, I have Apache Tomcat 9.0.7, Samba and SSH. Now this is the scanning, but where do I gain access from? I need to gain access to the victim server, victim's system. What do I do is that I find a vulnerability on each of these three. Like I perform my researching, open source intelligence, and see what version, what vulnerabilities exist on these specific versions that I get from the victim's computer. Now suppose I find file upload, local remote file inclusion in Tomcat. Okay, that means that I can also upload a .war file. Now Apache also accepts not Apache, Tomcat also accepts the .war files. Let me show you how to create these files. Now these are not normal files that you use for your everyday life. These are the payloads that hackers create for their reverse connectivity. I can give L port 444 and format is war, not this war, it is war, and the O tag refers to the output. What file name do I want? I give it p.war, means payload.war. And what happens now is that MSF Venom is a tool for payload creation, not only for Windows, you can create it for Linux, you can also create it not even for reverse TCP, anything you want, even HTTPS reverse, shell underscore TCP, anything you want. Okay, as you can see, saved as p.war, and we can grab that file up. Here it is. Now this is not in the human readable form, only MSF Venom or Apache can accept it or read it. Now what is lhost and lport here? Lhost is the listening host, which refers to the attacker's IP. Now what the payload does is that once it uploaded and executed on the Tomcat server, the payload then finds the IP of this listening IP and this listening port. means that the attacker, once he uploads the file and he then executes it, his suppose his netcat server, I can show you here, netcat lvp 4444, supposes this listening port 4444 is listening, as you can see, and once this is uploaded and executed, it will directly give him a reverse shell over here, which means an overall control on the web server. This is how a remote file inclusion vulnerability works, and this is how the basic gaining access method is done. Now let's come to maintaining access. What's maintaining access? Once you've gained your access, you need to maintain those accesses, whatever, like you've got on web server, you've got on host, you've got on its mobile, anything you've got on network. These all accesses must be maintained, because some of the time when the victim shuts down his or her web server, the shell gets shut down, or anything can happen with the shell, it gets stuck also, so we need to avoid that. So once we gain the shell, the most important thing is to install the backdoor on it. Now what the backdoor does is that you once the backdoor is installed with your listening host and listening port, there's no need for you to perform all those reconnaissance, scanning and gaining access procedures once the shell is shut down. Like suppose I have a shell here, shell, okay. Now suppose this is a shell on victim's computer, I'm just giving an example here. Now once I just if the victim shuts down his web server, it will give me an error of connection closed from anything victim ... Okay, this message will be given to you once the server gets shut down by the victim. Now what if that server shuts down and you don't have a backdoor, then you need to perform all those procedures that you did before. Now what a backdoor can help us, even there's a tool called backdoor factory. Now what a backdoor does is once it's installed on the victim server, it will continuously listen on the attacker's IP and port. So once you connect, like the file name of the backdoor is backdoor.php, suppose, okay, I'm just giving an example, and this is on the victim's machine, and here's the attacker, okay. I am the attacker here. Now my backdoor.php is continuously listening on my IP and my port. Now what I do is connect to the victim at IP is to in the directory where I have embedded the backdoor. Suppose victim backdoor .php. Now I need an SSH on this file because I've already set it up. This is my backdoor. It's currently listening, and it will directly give me a connection here. So there's no need for you to just follow all these steps: reconnaissance, scanning, gaining access. You can directly maintain your access by uploading a backdoor and directly connecting with it. Now let's come to clearing tracks. This is the most important thing that many hackers, I can give 70% of hackers, like, forget this after they've hacked and completed their whatever their tasks were, and once they're out of those servers, they're out of those system, they forget to clear their tracks. Now this is the most important thing, because if those tracks are not cleared, the forensics people or the people who are from the internal organization or the third party that organizations use, once they're compromised, they can find your tracks, they can find your digital footprints by performing digital forensics. And once suppose I've uploaded a payload, as I told you, ls, here is my payload p.var, sorry, oh wait, it must be here, is it here's my p.war. Now this is the file that I use to gain my connection, gain my access on the web, on the victim's system. Okay, this is it. This is the main file that I got my connection from. Now suppose I just deleted it. Sudo remove p.war. Now it's not here, it's vanished. But what digital forensics people do is that they have many tools and techniques. Even a tool is there called Recall, REKALL. This is a tool that also finds the recycle bins files that were deleted and also can restore it from there. Once even in Windows, any version of Windows, you just you have a file on the desktop, you delete it and you also clear the recycle bin. You think that it's completely vanished from our system, but it still exists. It exists somewhere. That's why digital forensics people are able to restore that file. They are using different tools. Here in Parrot OS, there's a section of digital forensics, and there are many sections of it: forensics carving tools, forensic imaging tools, PDF forensics, sleuth kit suite, and autopsy, bin walk, check rootkit, etc. These are just few of the tools that digital forensics people use. So if you have cleared your tracks completely, now suppose I right now I showed you that I deleted my p.war, okay, but it still exists somewhere. That's why I can use a secure file deleter here, metadata cleaner here, secure file deleter. This, what it does is that, as you can read, in order to make it harder for even very expensive hardware probing to recover the data. Even this hacking OS says that data can be recovered once you think it's completely vanished from the system. This is the most important aspect here. You have to clear the tracks, you have to clear your footprints once you've completed your task. Otherwise, digital forensics people can even track your geolocation by just analyzing and reverse engineering those files, those payloads. They can also find that from where source to which destination these payloads were interacting, which protocols were used for connectivity, from what IP was it used, and etc. They can gather many things. So it is important for us to clear the tracks. And this is it. These are all the hacking stages, and thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share.